You're listening to the Blue Raider Podcast, your number one resource for all the latest news, updates, and game recaps from Middle Tennessee athletics. Join us every Tuesday for our weekly interviews with players, coaches, and local media personalities alike. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like and subscribe on all our socials. We're on Instagram, X, Twitter, and TikTok at Blue Raider Pod. If you're currently listening on your favorite streaming service, we also offer a visual presentation on YouTube at Blue Raider Podcast. Lastly, I'd love to hear your feedback, so don't forget to subscribe to GoMiddle.com to discuss this week's episodes along with the latest news and updates around Middle Tennessee.
Welcome back to the Blue Raider Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Bolden. Today is our fifth installment of the BRP Summer Series, and as the summer winds down today, we will begin highlighting some returning talent for our fall sports. We will specifically highlight the talent from our women's volleyball and soccer teams in this episode, and first joining us, she was a second-team All-CUSA volleyball selection after a stellar season where she performed at a high level in both facets of the game, finishing third in team kills and second in team digs. Coming to Murfreesboro from Arkansas Little Rock all the way across the pond in the Netherlands, it is Laure Jansen. Laure, how are you doing?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing pretty well. The summer, as I said, is winding down. I think as we do the interview today, you're just over a month out from the season starting. Tell me a little bit about your excitement for this upcoming year.
Yeah, I'm very excited. We had a lot of girls graduate last semester, so we have a bunch of new girls coming in. I'm super excited to play with them, and I'm very excited as well to see what we can do this season. So.
I think it was interesting how last year, it was your first year here in Murfreesboro, and we kind of had a good turnaround this last year. I think the overall record was above 500. The conference record wasn't where we wanted it to be, but a part of the team just collectively had a good turnaround last year. Tell me a little bit about what went right for you guys. What did you see before you came here that you kind of, again, helped improve? You were high in the kills and the digs.
Yeah, I think we had such a great group, like all together. Everyone was willing to work for each other, like real hard. I think that's one of the most important things for a team to work well. So yeah, it was just flowing. It went really well. We had a great preseason. I thought that gave us a lot of trust as well. So we went into the season with a really good feeling. Yeah.
And tell me about going into this year. What's the off season been like for you? Are you able to go back home? You know, what are you doing, and what is the team doing at this stage in the year?
Yeah. So I've been home the last 2 months. It's been great to see my family and my friends again. Working out, we have this group snap that we like show each other's pictures in while we're working out and like hype each other up and motivate each other as well on distance. That worked for me really well because everyone just like was willing to work hard during the season or during the period where we're not together. Yeah, and now we're back. We play with each other, so no coaches are allowed. We have camps right now. We have workouts. So yeah, we're definitely busy, and we're starting to have a good team bonding again, and building as much as we can before the coaches can step in and we can go full.
Is there time for you to actually relax where you're not training or anything like that?
Yes, actually, our coach is really strict on that. He says the first month, do not touch the ball, just be a kid, hang out with friends and family, and doing fun things. And then after a while, we start touching the ball like 2-3 times a week, and then we build up from there. So it was a really good combination of having to relax, be with family, and have a little different mindset. And yeah, so we can like fully recover from it, and just now we're ready to roll again. So that's really helpful.
Is that tough for you to draw back from volleyball for a little bit? From a view on your Instagram, you're well-traveled. It looks like you like to get out in nature. What are things you like to do?
Yeah, I really like to hang out with my friends and family whenever I get the chance to. Obviously, I see them like twice a year, so a lot of catch up to do as well. I really like to travel, what you saw as well. Stuff like that. It's amazing to do.
Well, you've been to America. Have you been prior to you coming? Because I know you came across when we signed with Arkansas Little Rock. Had you been over here before? Now that you're over here, what are some of the places that you like to go here in America?
That's a good question. I have never been to America before I went to college here. So one of the favorite things that I did in Little Rock, Arkansas was hiking. There are like beautiful like places to hike, which I really liked. After we traveled to New York City as well. I've been to Vegas with a friend of mine. Went to Mexico. I'm not really sure what was my favorite thing, but I would definitely say that being active during those trips is like a favorite thing to do. Like seeing all those things we see in movies. Like for us, it's a little unreal. All these big cars, big trucks, big everything is big. So that's so fun to actually see in real life. So.
And tell me about your transition to Murfreesboro. You go from Little Rock, kind of a little nowhere place. Well, I mean, it's a big city, but compared to Murfreesboro, which is just south of Nashville, have you had the opportunity to really take in the Nashville scene that is Broadway and all those kind of things? Do you enjoy Murfreesboro, that kind of that scene?
Yeah, I really do enjoy it here, especially the country. Where I'm from, we don't listen to country music at all, but now I really like it actually, and my friends back home kind of make fun of me sometimes, but yeah, no, it's awesome. I really like it. I feel like I've lived here forever. Yeah.
As someone that grew up in the area, I also didn't love country music, and then I met my wife, and then she loves country music, and she does the square dancing and the line dancing and all that stuff, and so I've been hitched ever since. So it just at some point, the country music just takes you in. There's really nothing much you can really do about it. It just does that to you. So that I'm interested to know too. Talking about Netherlands, and we'll get back to the volleyball topic here. The Olympics are coming up. Netherlands has made a bid to play volleyball in Paris this upcoming Summer Olympics. Where does your allegiance lie now? I know you're from Netherlands. Are you rooting for the America? What kind of the Olympics? What does that mean to you? And what are you watching?
Well, I definitely saw all the games like of the VNL, like us trying to get into the spot of the Olympics. I'm so happy we got in, and obviously I'm gonna watch all their games. My hope is obviously that they win, but we'll see. America is such a great team as well. Yeah, I'm
Is
very
there
excited to
any other
see.
sports that you like to watch at the Olympics? There's so many options. I'm just curious if there's anything else you tune into.
Oh, that's a good question. I really like the beach volleyball as well. Yeah, we have some great Dutch teams as well that are competing, and one of them is actually like one of my, how do you say that, like one of my examples, because she's not as tall. I'm not as tall either, and whenever she was younger, she told in an interview that people always told her that she would not be able to make it because of her height. And then beach volleyball is like obviously like a little bit different than indoor, but yeah, she made it, and that was a great thing for her, and yeah, that made me really open my eyes and be like, oh, see, you can, yeah, like, yeah. So I'm very happy to see her play and follow that along, and
Beach volleyball is definitely a more exhilarating sport. I mean, with two to a side like that, it's a pretty high pace. I like beach volleyball myself a lot. I want to know from the Netherlands perspective, was coming to America kind of the dream for you to get over here, play college, and then once you're out of college, because you're a senior this year, what's your expectations moving out of college? What's your goal with volleyball?
so first off, I always really wanted to come and visit America. For us, it's such a like the American dream kind of thing. I never really expected me to like go to college here as well, because I already graduated my college back home, because our school system is super different, that we graduate high school at 16, 17-ish, and then you start your college. So after my college, I was like 19 and really trying to figure out what I wanted with my life, and if I wanted to go start working yet or not. And then at one point, I got the opportunity to play and travel in America, but also obviously go to college, which I was super excited for. And I never expected me to be there for so long. I thought, oh, I'll go for a year and travel and play a little bit and see how it goes and go back home. But no, now I'm here. I'm a senior already, and I'm almost done. And I think that I really want to try to go play pro whenever I graduate in Europe, hopefully, like a little closer to home. But yeah, if that's not the case, then it's okay for me too, and I'll just go back home and yeah, and start my life there. Yeah.
Signing a pro contract in overseas back in Europe seems to be the move because professional volleyball just isn't at the level here in America that it is over in Europe. So if the volleyball thing doesn't work or you're still trying to do it as a part-time thing, I noticed your major is interdisciplinary media. What are kind of some things that drew you to that major that made you want to do that, and what do you plan to do with that major?
Yeah. I always find it interesting about how social media and internet could affect companies on their reach and everything. So I thought that was also like super important and interesting. Um, yeah, combined with that, I think that's what attracted me the most to it. And I really, not gonna lie, I really also wanted to just have like not as much like pressure on school work. So I thought that, okay, this is something I really like and I feel like I'm good at. Maybe I should pursue something in this and not try something completely different than where I have to really focus on school a lot, because obviously I'm just trying to be the best volleyball player here I can be. So that's my main
Absolutely.
focus.
You try to switch up. You got your priorities, and that's always good to
Exactly.
have. But let's shift our attention over to the upcoming season. As I previewed at the very beginning in the intro, you were third on the team in kills. You're second on the team in digs. You're obviously that's both sides of the game of volleyball. What makes you, and maybe it's the fact that you're an outside hitter that puts you in those positions, but you also capitalize on those opportunities. So tell me about your game. Where do you think you're good at, and what are some areas that you're wanting to improve moving into your senior year?
Yeah, I think I'm overall like a pretty solid, decent player. I think my passing is like one of my best skills, and I feel like as a outside, you have to do a lot. So you have to pass, you have to defend, you have to hit, serve, everything. And I think with being like a stable passer makes me really all around. With that being said, I think my hitting wise as well, like I really like to use the block and try to be a more smart player than obviously I'm tall but not like super tall. We have a lot of tall players in our team, and yeah, they can hit really hard. They're there to hit and block, and I'm more like stabilizer and try to keep the team calm, and yeah, like that. That, that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm interested because you talk about your height there, and you're not necessarily the tallest ball player. But one thing that's interesting about volleyball is, again, you're either really tall, you could reach over the block, you can slam it over or kill it over that way, or you can deflect it off the block, as you're mentioning. For those that don't necessarily know volleyball, when you're practicing, how does one practice hitting it off the block and trying to get an out of bounds call on the other team?
Yeah. So at practice, we use big shuffles, like snow shuffles, and we hold them against the net. And then we have to try to go through the end of the shuffles, so like high hands, that kind of thing. So I use the hands, block out, just tip, knowing where the setter is at the moment, you know where you have to tip. Yeah, so we work very like specific on different like position wise. So I think it really helps me to see the court and think about what rotation we're in, and yeah, be smart about that.
Your team loses Aaron Eisenhart and Kayla Henley, both of which who led you in those categories I mentioned earlier. Do you see yourself taking on a bigger role this upcoming year now that they're absent and you bring back Audrey, who's obviously a great hitter? So where do you see yourself filling in this year and taking over as a leader?
Yeah, Aaron and Kayla, they were very, very important for us. Um, I think with them leaving, um, my job is exactly to fulfill those roles that they had, by talking a lot, by making sure everybody stays engaged, but also keep it calm, because I feel like there has to be a stabilizer that can like carry the team when it's not going great or whenever it's going great. You know, you always have to be stable, and I think that's one of the things that it's going to be my job this year, and I'm very excited for that. Yeah, so we'll see if that's going to work.
You finished second team All CUSA last year. Do you ever feel like that now that getting that first team accolade, or is that a first team award, is that important to you this upcoming season?
Well, I wouldn't say important. I always like to have, I mean, I rather have it like a trophy as a team or like accomplishment as a team, but obviously it works for your confidence. You're willing to get more, and you're like getting acknowledgement of like how you're doing, which works a lot, like works really good for you to like wanting to want more and work hard. And so I'm very excited to like see what else I can like improve on and like try to make it to first team all conference. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's great stuff from you, Laura. I appreciate you taking the time out of your off season to come do this with us, and I look forward to the upcoming season with you and the volleyball team.
Awesome.
Our next featured interview is returning to the Lady Raiders soccer program for her 5th season in the blue and white. She earned all CUSA second team honors as a defender and led the team with 5 assists. From Franklin, Tennessee, it's Laure Spaanstra. Lauren, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent, and I'm really happy to have you on to the episode. One, you're kind of a local talent coming all the way from Franklin. Is that accurate though? Because you're from Independence High School, which is most notably known for Thompson Station. So where do you lie over there in Williamson County?
Yes, Franklin is right. Just very South Franklin, almost Thompson Station, actually. So.
Okay. Was there ever a battle for you when you were going into high school about where you may end up landing? Were you always going to Independence? Because that can be kind of heavily talked about in today's world.
Yeah, not really. I mean, zoning changed sometimes, but it was Independence for the most part.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about your off season. I know the season, as we're doing this interview, you're just a little over a month away from getting going. What does your off season look like for you? You don't have a far way to travel back home. Do you stay in Murfreesboro through the off season and through summer school?
Yeah. So when we end in May, I typically, at least for the past 3 years, have played on a summer league team out of Franklin. Tennessee Soccer Club. It's the Women's USL League. So I do that in May and June, just training with the team, training with a bunch of girls that I used to play with in club back in high school, some familiar coaches, stuff like that. And then as soon as July hits, we're back together as a team for the most part. It's optional training in July, but most of us make the trip back to Murfreesboro. So yeah, we've been back together for about a week and a half now. Just training together as a team and having fun.
Doesn't sound like soccer takes much of a break throughout the year.
No, not at all. It's almost all year round.
So tell me about the summer club that you play in May and June. I mean, are you traveling a lot? Is it mostly in the mid-state? How does that work?
It's pretty flexible. So I actually didn't play in a lot of games this summer, but in the past when I have, the travel can be pretty heavy if you want it to be. But we spend a lot of time, I think, maybe North Carolina, a lot of time in Georgia, stuff like that. But I had a pretty light summer. I stuck to just training with them and sticking close to home for my last summer.
Tell me a little bit about the conditioning aspect of that. I would assume that's probably the largest benefit is that you're always in game shape playing in the summer.
Yeah, so we obviously always have a summer packet workouts from our strength and conditioning coach, and playing, it really just supplements that. It goes hand in hand. So yeah, we're doing our training packets, lifting, running, conditioning, all that stuff. And then supplementing it with training and playing with a team really like enhances that. And it's definitely worked for me. So
absolutely. And you answered it in your last question about your 5th season as a graduate student. It's going to be your last summer here. What went into the decision for you to come back for that 5th year? Because you took a part of the senior festivities, and I think some people knew you'd come back, but what went into that decision?
Really, I think I wasn't ready to step away from it. It's kind of all I know. As athletes, that's how it goes. You know, you don't want to end your life as an athlete. On top of that, I think we had a bit of a rough past 2 seasons, truthfully. And I think that I see a lot of potential coming into this year with our new players. And I'm really confident and hopeful that I can end my career on a high. And I really want to help contribute to that. And I just felt like it wasn't done yet. So.
Yeah, and I'll fast forward to that conversation. You lose a lot. I know you're going to lose your captain, who was a captain for 4 years there. You're bringing in 3 new transfers on the defensive end, along with 2 freshman signees. Your role, you're already kind of a big role on the team as a defender, but you're really stepping into that leadership role now that Manley's gone. So tell me about what that growth for you as a player off the field for some of these new additions.
Yeah, losing Caroline is a big deal for us, and I've been lucky enough to have her as one of my really good friends and my mentors, and I've learned a lot from her, along with a lot of the other girls who are fifth years that are leaving us now. And I think I've just had to I haven't been thrown into the role. I've been there a little bit, kind of maybe in the background, but kind of having to take a more vocal role this year. I'm learning as I go, but I'm enjoying it. And yeah, it's for me, it's about helping everybody to be on the same page, helping us to all buy into the process. And as long as we're doing that and we're having a good time, that's my job. So
And you're going to have a new goalkeeper this year too. Does that change anything for you as a defender?
a little bit, in my 4 years here, I've known Suter for the most part. She's leaving, so obviously that hurts my heart a little bit because I love her. But the girls we have lined up are great. Cal, Emily, and even our new freshman Demi. I mean, I've only been with her for a week and a half, but she's doing great. She's meshing really well with the group. But the two returners, Cal and Emily, I'm super confident in them. I have a super good relationship with them, and so I have no doubts that they're not going to be able to fill that role just fine.
Does anything about the game plan necessarily change for you guys because you're having so much turnover this upcoming season?
Oh gosh, I don't think so. I think that we are a really versatile team, and we're able to play a lot of different styles to kind of fit our opponent. And I think that the new girls that we're bringing in and the girls that are staying, I think it stays the same. We stick to the things that we're good at, and I don't think that has to necessarily go anywhere. I think our characteristics and our traits as a team are pretty similar still.
And I want to backtrack just a little bit. We talk about your growth as a player as you've been at MTSU. Your first 2 seasons, you kind of take the backup role there, and then your junior season, you take off. You're a fixture on the defense. I've already spoken about what you're capable of doing this last year with the second team CUSA honors. It's hard for kids nowadays, especially with the transfer portal and all that, to be able to sit back and learn those first couple of years. So your story is intriguing for that aspect that you were willing to sit back in that backup role, and when your time came, you capitalized on that. So as far as you speaking on that experience, how are you able to share that experience with some of the new younger players that are joining the team this season?
Yeah, I think my experience is obviously unique for some, but also very, relatable for others. Coming in as a freshman, it's hard to find your role in the team. And I think for me, it just took, finding my focus, finding my drive and motivation, and surrounding myself by people who I wanted to be like and who I looked up to. And kind of once I figured that out, I was golden. I figured out how to train and prepare. And I surrounded myself with the right people, and was able to kind of step into that role my junior year. And I've tried to never look back. I don't want to. I want to keep it going, obviously. But I guess to the younger players, my message would be that you just because you're not playing, you're not seeing minutes that you want, you're not getting what you're expecting or what you maybe think you deserve. To not give up, right? You see a lot of kids freshman, sophomore year, they hit the portal because they don't get what they were expecting. And I think that if you work hard and you know what you want and you're in a place that you love, that you just have to work for it and you have to wait for your time sometimes. And I'm super grateful that I did. I wouldn't change it for anything. So.
Absolutely. That's great stuff. Well, let's talk about your last season here. You had 5 assists. You led the team as a defender, which is not necessarily very common. But I want to hear from you. How do you grade out your last season? What are areas that you think you could improve upon going into 2024?
Yeah, I think offensively, obviously, contributing to a couple goals, that I think that was a strong suit for me. But I also think that going into this next year, being a defender, I would like to, see a little bit more in that area from myself. Obviously still contributing on the attack, but just being a bigger presence on the defense, I think, when we don't have the ball. That's definitely a goal for me. Also to be a more vocal leader. I'm loud, I like to talk, but I think sometimes, on the field it gets lost. And so that's also something I'd like to focus on is being a little bit more vocal, kind of bringing the team together, getting everybody, riled up, motivated. I don't know. But yeah.
Tell me too, you talked about you see things that are trending in the right way. I'm paraphrasing, but you say that things are trending in the right way for the Lady Raiders soccer team. Tell me, what are those things that you're seeing? I mean, obviously, you like you said, you've been in practice for a week and a half now. You've got to feel the vibe of talk about the players meshing and how practices are going. And athletes have a knack for kind of understanding things are moving in the right directions. What are things that you've seen so far about this team that feel promising to you that you're going to be able to end this year on a good note?
Yeah, I think in the past, something we've been lacking is maybe the ability to score goals. And I think that immediately off the bat, I've seen some of the new girls who are just hungry to score goals, and that's only been a week and a half. And it's really good to see. And in addition to that, I think the chemistry has been great. I mean, to feel super close to everybody and super comfortable and confident around everybody in just a week and a half is really great. And for the younger girls for me to see confidence from the younger girls is a really big thing too, because that's something that freshmen and newcomers tend to lack sometimes.
Now, the defender isn't necessarily always the sexiest position to talk about, but I want to know from you in practice, some of these new forwards, midfielders that you're going up against, are there any names that we should be looking forward to hearing as far as the goal scorers go this upcoming fall?
Yeah, absolutely. They're all great, but two of them definitely come to mind from at least within the past week and a half. So definitely Ariana. She comes from Murfreesboro. I think she went to Oakland. She is so crafty, so quick, so aggressive. She blazed me in practice the other day. Honestly, quite embarrassing. Probably shouldn't let that happen again. But she is hungry for the ball. She's hungry to score. She distributes really, really well. And then Lexi, she is incredible. She's fast, she's fit, she's scoring goals left and right. I'm super excited to see her going into August. So I think those two are definitely some to keep your eye out for sure.
Well, that's exciting. And to, kind of finish up on a note about you and your personal life, doing a little digging, I was able to find your cousin, Alexa, who signed with in the NWSL this last year. Do you have a relationship with her? My understanding is she didn't grow up in Middle Tennessee. So do you have a relationship with her? And if so, what was that like?
Yeah, I do. We grew up together a little bit, I guess. I was born in Michigan, which is where she grew up and was born as well. It's a little hard now to kind of we don't see each other as much anymore. Obviously, she's been in soccer for, I don't know, the past 20 years, and so have I, really. So we used to see each other a lot at holidays. It doesn't happen as much anymore, but we do have a good relationship. I talk to her a decent amount. I see if she scores a goal, I might send her a text or a DM or something. But it's definitely hard to get to see that side of the family because there's a lot of athletes over there. So, but yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting what I was able to find because every sibling of that family seems to be somewhere in their athletic career pretty far along. But I thought it was interesting if there was ever a story you had about you two growing up, because she's a forward and you're a defender. Was there ever anything like crossover there between you two, ever playing in the backyard or anything like that?
No, I've lived in Tennessee for most of my life, so the only time we really got to see each other was Christmas or big family events. And I mean, our family is big in sports and we talk about it, but I honestly don't remember ever playing with her or really even talking soccer with her, which maybe looking back, maybe we should have. But no, not very much in that area.
Well, to piggyback off that, the opportunity to go professional, whether it's here in America or to go overseas, is that something that you kind of aspire or what's your plan after this last season? I know that's tough to talk about, but is there anything you've thought about?
No, I haven't necessarily ever thought or considered going pro. I think that for me, this feels like where it ends. And I'm fine with that. I just graduated in May with my bachelor's in accounting, or my undergrad. And then in August, I'll start my master's in accounting. So post grad, I guess, hopefully in a year and a half to 2 years, I plan to start working, hopefully in Nashville, maybe with a public accounting firm doing audit. So, yeah.
Big math stuff going on for you. No coaching or anything like that?
I definitely have interest in doing that kind of on the side. I've always loved, being involved in in the club that I grew up in and working camps here at school. I love working with younger girls. I train a couple girls on the side, and it's really rewarding for me. So I definitely plan to at least coach, a younger girls team, a club team, a rec team. I don't care, work some camps. But I do really think it's important to give back to, at least the area and the people that got me here, really. So I definitely plan to do that in my future.
Well, excellent stuff from Lauren Spaanstra here. We look forward to you and your upcoming season and the Lady Raiders. I appreciate your time for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Our final guest in today's Summer Series episode is a returning junior outside hitter that has an impressive resume in a young career. After leading the team in kills, eclipsing the 100 career service aces, she earned All CUSA First Team honors in 2023. Coming to MTSU by way of Hutchinson, Minnesota, it's Adri Rhoda. Adri, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm excellent. I prefaced all that there about your big resume, and as you already talked with Laure, who was on earlier in the episode, you both are pretty impressive for hitters. You both have a part of your game that is a little unique. Obviously, you both have high kill numbers. She has a lot of digs, and you have a lot of service aces. So I'm just interested, just to get right up from the get-go, tell me a little bit about your game. I think it's interesting. Obviously, you're 6'3", but the service aces is a part of your game that makes you really unique and stand out and get you that first team honor.
Yeah. Well, it's actually kind of funny because when I was in high school, all throughout high school and my club career, I actually always had a sub play for me. So I never served high school or club. So I kind of think that is what sparked the whole serving thing. I just had never really been overthinking it or overdoing the process of serving. So I kind of came in and was just having fun with it, I guess, and just being aggressive. And then it just kind of took off from there. Like I said, there was never any pressure to be to fix this or fix that. It was kind of just go out and do it. And then I ended up being pretty successful with it. And then, we just continued on from there.
That makes it an even more interesting story because you were top 4 in the country last year in service aces. That's nuts. How do you prepare yourself for that? And also as a college coach, Coach Crawford, how does he decide to throw you into that position? Is it something you found out in practice? How does that work?
Yeah. I guess it was just something that we had figured out in practice. It was kind of just a go for it thing. Like I said, there was never any, I came in, I wasn't I don't know, sometimes when you have been working on a skill for so long, you kind of have ups and downs with it, but it was really just right off the bat, it was just have fun with it. And I think also being 6'3", like you mentioned, my contact point is usually a lot higher than most people's on my serve, especially because I also jump serve. So that trajectory over the net, it kind of comes down further from when it leaves my hand, it's coming down more like a hit instead of a serve directly across. So I think that also kind of plays to my advantage in the serve a little bit over, say, a smaller pin or outside.
Is it something that you do practice pretty, I know you say that you're good at it and it's something that you went into with little practice. Is it something that you still kind of put on the side and you just happen to be good at it, or do you now kind of work at it more often?
I definitely work on it a little bit because now it's something that I am making adjustments to. And now that I know how I do serve, I am able to make corrections and take corrections on that. And I actually switched. So my freshman year, I tossed with one hand. And now sophomore year, I think I was tossing with two hands. We started with a 2-hand toss just because it kind of helps lower the error on your toss when you have it with 2 hands. So I have switched from 1-hand toss to a 2-hand toss. So we are working on that. But yeah, I'm always trying to be more consistent, I guess, and better the serve.
And I'm sure you appreciate it too because it keeps you on the court longer.
Yeah, that's another thing we're working on. Lau plays 6 rotations. She's an incredible all-around outside, and I've usually just been a front row outside a 3-rotation pin. So that's another thing we're working on and trying to develop me as far as the defensive side. So staying in after the serve too, and not serving and then coming off the court.
Absolutely. That's great insight into regards to your gameplay. I want to know how you found your way to Murfreesboro. Like I said, you're from Hutchinson. My understanding is just outside, just west of Minneapolis. So how do you come from Minneapolis all the way down here to Murfreesboro?
Well, I played club at Minnesota Select, which is in, I'm like an hour and a half outside of where I played club, so I kind of went pretty far just for the exposure and experience and stuff with like bigger clubs and um, playing bigger tournaments like all around the country where coaches can see you. So we traveled a lot with Select for volleyball, and then I don't know what tournament. Usually, like coaches see you at a specific tournament. I'm not sure which one they saw me at, but June 15th, my sophomore year, that's like the date where coaches can contact you. And I remember actually seeing the email from MTSU, and I kind of ignored it because I was like, oh, I'm a sophomore and I've been in Minnesota my whole life. I don't really feel like going far away. But then I think a few days later, I looked back through all my emails and text messages. That's like June 15th is a very overwhelming day for volleyball players. So I kind of was just like letting it all sink in. And then I went and looked back and I was like, maybe I do want to go further away. I've always been pretty independent on my own, like as a person. So I was like, maybe this could be nice to like start my own thing like far away. So I started talking to Jenna, our assistant coach, and she's amazing. I don't know if you've ever talked to her, but she's so amazing. And just right from our first phone call, I was like, I love her. And the ball just started rolling from there.
And tell me about Murfreesboro. You've been here for 2 years now. I mean, have you really adapted to the city? I know weather-wise it's significantly different than Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have. I think it's a little similar to Minnesota just in the fact that it's very green and naturey. Like the summers are very similar. It's a little bit hotter down here, but I think the summers and obviously winter's not the same. Minnesota's a lot colder, but sometimes when I like am driving, I've made the drive to Chattanooga a few times, and like the scenery and like all the trees and the mountains kind of remind me of some drives back home. So that's really nice to see that. But it's definitely a bigger city than I'm from. I'm from a very small town. So having things like a mall in town, or I guess I don't know if you call Murfreesboro a town. I'm so used to saying in town. But having a mall here, that is like my favorite thing ever because I love to shop. But having everything so close to me, I had to really adapt to that because we would drive like an hour at least to go shopping when I was back at home.
That's crazy. Well, I mean, tell me too, do you ever get the opportunity to go back during the off season, or do you stay put here? What's that like?
Yeah, so my mom and little brother actually just moved to Phoenix. So I still have some family in Minnesota that I go back and see, but when we get breaks, I have gone back to Phoenix. I was just in Minnesota for the summer. But when we get breaks, I do go back home, but like I said, I've been pretty independent for a long time. So going back is kind of just weird to me since I have my whole life and set up here. I really like it.
Well, you kind of touched on it. I was interested to know what you do in your off time. It sounds like you enjoy shopping. Being a girl from a small town, are there ever any things like that you enjoy? It appears from being from Minnesota, you'd probably enjoy going to the lake, that kind of thing. That seems to be a very common summer activity up in Minnesota.
Yeah, I've not found a lake around here that I like to go to, but that is a very common thing we do at home. I do love to shop. I have a very, very bad shopping addiction, actually. I need to stop, but I do like to shop. So the avenue is really nice. My off time, I have a split family, a blended family. So I have a few younger siblings. I have 2 of them back at home in Minnesota, 3 of them actually. And then my younger brother, who's in Phoenix with my mom, I'm so close with. Like in my any free time, I call him, FaceTime him, text him. He just learned how to text. He just turned 8. So I love him so much. So whenever I'm home, I'm like always doing something with him. I hang out with him all the time. Like that's my favorite thing to do when I'm home is just hang out.
I want to know about your sophomore campaign. You led the team in points per set and kills. How do you grade out your last year? Tell me what your thoughts are on your year.
Yeah, I think it went pretty well. Like you said, I know sometimes people go through like a sophomore slump, I think they call it. And I feel like from my personal standpoint, I felt like it was kind of, I don't think it was a slump, but I do feel like it was very consistent, which I'm really happy with. I think I developed more, since I've gotten here, honestly, in general, I've developed more being a vocal leader, I think. I've always been kind of a quiet more like to myself player, like didn't celebrate a lot, like was just kind of a quiet player in general. And now I think, especially my sophomore year, I kind of broke out of my shell of being to myself. And I think I have gotten a lot better at giving energy and just being a more excited and kind of explosive player on all aspects of things.
Yeah, you touched on the sophomore slump that some people experience, and you kind of blew right through that. What are you doing this year to improve? And you may have already said it a little bit about the leadership role because you're no longer an underclassman. So what are you doing not only on the court to improve your game to continue to get better, but what are you doing off the court to kind of embrace that leadership role you're taking on?
Yeah, so we lost, I think, 8 seniors. So we have a lot of rebuilding to do, and our coaches always really emphasize on the fact that it's not just on the court. Like you said, we really try to build those relationships off the court, whether it's going to dinner. We go to the pool a lot as a team. So when we're at the pool with friends and stuff, teammates, we really try to like hang out with people we don't usually hang out with. And just get to know those younger players so that we have that bond off the court, which makes it a lot easier to be a teammate and hold people accountable on the court and in play.
And one of those players you're losing this year is Kayla Henley. She's graduating. Do you feel any more pressure this upcoming season to perform at a high level with her production leaving the team?
I don't think I feel any more pressure, no. It is a big loss as far as leadership. She was really good at holding people accountable, and people really played extremely tough, I think, around her because she just brought that energy and that grittiness to the court. So losing that is really hard, and we're trying to it's really hard to like mimic someone's energy. So we're trying to find new ways in our own personal examples of how to do what she did, but in our own way to kind of bring up people around us the way that she did.
Absolutely. Like you're trying to elevate the game of your fellow teammates and stuff like that. Well, and you talk about your first team honor last year. That's kind of a big deal, even at a sophomore level. I always ask that because now it's like, where do you take your game from this point on? Is that something that you even think about at this point?
Yeah, I've actually talked with my coaches this past spring about goals for this upcoming year. And obviously first team, that's I'm very happy with that. But just trying to develop my game, like I said earlier, into becoming more of an all-around player and focusing on the defensive and the passing side of things so I can be a 6 rotation player because right now the goal is player of the year, and that's going to take a lot of work on the court and off the court, especially mentally. I've never been, like I said before, I've always been a 3 rotation outside because it's kind of where I've been more comfortable at. And physically that's where I've been put just because I'm 6'3", and usually there's smaller DSs to come in and play my back row for me. But with a goal like player of the year, definitely have to be a 6 rotation player, play defense and pass and do everything. So that's right now the goal. It's going to take a lot of work, but that's hopefully where we're headed.
Well, it'll certainly heighten the level of the team. I want to know your input from this upcoming season. The team is trending in the right direction over the last couple of seasons. Where do you see the team fall in this upcoming season? You've had a feel for a few practices now. How do you feel about this squad moving into this year?
Yeah, I feel honestly really good about it. We have literally everything that we need physically, volleyball-wise on the court to win the conference and go to the tournament, but we just have to develop. Like I said, we have a bunch of young players coming in. We have 2 transfers who will both be middles. We're refilling the middle position completely. So our middles will be brand new to the program. So just kind of getting everyone on the same page right away. Open Gym has been going really well, honestly. We've been really competing and getting after it. So that makes everyone kind of feel like a little bit better. Just because when preseason starts, we'll all kind of be ahead of the game as far as the energy in the gym, like what we expect. So I think that we definitely have the capability to win the conference as long as we're aggressive and we're all on the same page.
Well, good. That's absolutely exciting stuff from you, Adri. I appreciate you taking the time out of your off season to join us here on the podcast, and we wish you the best of luck this upcoming season.
Yes, thank you.